This is the 80s Show on iHeartRadio.
Say ho, ho, say ho, ho, ho. Let's start the show, let's start the show. Come on, let's go, come on, let's go. Say ho, ho, say ho, whoa, ho, whoa. Let's start the show, let's start the show, let's start the show, let's start the show.
It's definitely one of those mornings. Definitely one of those mornings where there's not enough coffee in existence to make it happen. Hold on a second. Delicious Pango Bye-Bye juice. You and I will get through it together. Thank you so much for hanging out, joining us, being part of the show today. Joining the conversation, tweet us at ADSXE. At Funk FM is where you can tweet super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhauser. We also have a special guest in the studio today, Renee, all the way from Australia. If someone was going to tweet you, where would they be able to do that?
Hey, AD, at Renee Peterson. Super easy.
What did she just say? I didn't quite understand that.
Okay, guys,
Are you
settle
speaking
down.
Some weird southern language?
Something about kangaroos. Anyways, wanted to begin the show today. Well, first and foremost, we do have a guest in the studio, and we'll get into the whys and wherefores of that later. But questions, super quick. Do you argue much? Are you an argumentative person? Does that happen to you a lot? Who do you argue with? Family, friends, people in the street, randomly? How many times have you had arguments recently? I want you to think back to the most recent argument you had and think about whether or not something positive came out of it. Arguing, bickering, fighting, call it what you will. Did anybody win? I'm going to go out on a limb and guess no, probably not. I've found through trial and error, mostly error, that really nothing solved by arguing. When two people with opposing viewpoints get into a room and start screaming and yelling at each other, I've yet to run into a situation where at the end of that, no matter how it ends, usually badly, but at the end of that particular situation, the practical upshot of it is not one person going, you know what? I never thought about it that way. You were right. I'm going to think about things differently from here on in. I've yet to run into that circumstance. Yet I've been having arguments more or less since I could talk. It's just part of life. It happens. But you'd think that we as a species would cotton on to the fact that nothing came out of it. Nothing good came out of it. What's the old expression? Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Yet here we are, arguing with each other. Boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, various political parties with opposing views, people that don't get along. How do they hash things out? They get argumentative. Especially now we're living in this digital age of arguing online. You get that little dopamine hit when someone responds to your Facebook post. Oh, really, sir? I bet you wouldn't say that to my face. You're just a coward hiding behind a keyboard, coward. Well, you're just a knuckle-dragging moron. Things get a little heated. Things get a little bit more emboldened when you don't have that person looking at you face to face. So people, as time goes on, as digital technology progresses, have become probably more, not less argumentative, which is weird because, as I say, nothing's ever really solved by arguing. And the definition of insanity being doing something over and over again and expecting a different result, we are going clinically insane when it comes to having opposing views. You'd think we have cottoned on to it by now, but no, not so much. So what the hell is the point of arguing? Probably none. I don't know about you, but I sort of, and your Irish gets up and you get angry and you can't avoid an argument sometimes as much as you try and turn the other cheek. Sometimes you've turned every cheek you have and had it slapped numerous times, and then you're in it. Then you're fighting. Then you're arguing. And you're in a spiral going nowhere. But when that doesn't happen, I don't know about you, but when I find out someone thinks differently than me, I try to meet with them. I try and talk to them. I value people that think differently than me because, well, I have a lot of friends. I have some family that think the way I do, that agree with most of the things I have, that have a similar point of view, have a similar perspective from a similar path in life. I know a lot of them, but I don't know. They've kind of heard all my stories, and I've heard all of theirs. it gets a little dull. So I've come to the conclusion that I really don't have a ton to learn from people who think the same things as me. It can be fun passing the time with them, one supposes, but generally speaking, yeah, sure, there is that comfort in familiarity. There's that comfort also in sitting on your ass all day on the couch. It doesn't make it a good thing. It doesn't make it a rewarding thing. It doesn't make it an improving thing for you or us as a species. So, relish in the difference. Next time you feel yourself on the verge of crossing over the threshold from reasonable conversation to an argument, think about this for a second. You're in the presence of someone that thinks differently than you. They're a person too. They might not. There's definitely no way, shape, or form they're as intelligent as you are. They're not as thoughtful, intelligent, and caring as a human being as you are, but they are a person. You might want to give them some time. You might want to take a second to attempt to understand why they think differently than you. You might want to understand how they came to that conclusion. You might want to put your temper in check and do your very best to learn something new from someone that has led a different life than you. The arguing is pointless. It's a train to nowheresville that'll get us there quickly. Yet it's our default setting when we get into a difference of opinion a lot of the time. Try and think past that. You might actually learn something. If we cannot end now our differences, at least we can make the world safe for diversity. JFK.
Two-seater fleeter, it's you and the senorita. Woofer blowing up the tweeter, cause it's me up in the speaker. Macking the mama seater, top down like a player. And the sound up in your ears, it is the dopest rhyme. Say I run a game like a cheater, I'm ballin' like Derek Jeter. Complete on the marathon, I mean the very last meter. Competition defeated, cause yo, my voice is just sweeter. So come on, follow the leader, plus I got the dopest of sneakers. Fuck the rest, I'm the best, there's no question. Fuck the rest and you know. Fuck the rest, I'm the best, there's no question. Are you ready to go? One thing you gotta know, let me just bear with me on your radio. One thing you gotta know, let me just bear with AD on your radio. On your radio. On your radio. Fuck the false modesty, nobody has ever been better, smarter, more clever. I'm winning every endeavor in competition, no you never see a better competitor. Every fight of vendetta, till a head has been severed. I'm the best that there is, I wake up and piss excellence. And if you're coming to battle on your house, I put up excellence. I'm just here to have a little fucking fun, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm second to none. Fuck the rest, I'm the best, there's no question. Fuck the rest and you know. Fuck the rest, I'm the best, there's no question. Are you ready to go? One thing you gotta know, let me just bear with me on your radio. One thing you gotta know, let me just bear with AD on your radio. On your radio. On your radio. Fuck the rest, I'm the rest, there's no question. Fuck the rest and you know. Fuck the rest, I'm the best, there's no question. Are you ready to go? I'm just here to have a little fucking fun, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm so second to none. Fuck the rest, I'm the best, there's no question. Are you ready to go? One thing you gotta know, let me just bear with me on your radio. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving your music a savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a body better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving your music a savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a body better than me. Hey, you, what's that sound? I'm coming so loud from your radio dial. AD, be getting down when you're rocking the jams. Here I am, going back once again. I'm ruling all city like.
So, while we're on the topic of celebrating and enjoying the differences that make us unique and interesting in this world and learning things from people that have grown up, lived, think, go through life differently than you do. We are thrilled to have Renee Peterson from Australia in the studio with us today, ready to share a different life perspective on the world as we make our way in the show. How are you today? Enjoying things so far?
AD, it's great. Thanks so much for having me on your show. I can't believe it. I've come to the other side of the world and I get to hang out with you.
Yeah, she's formerly of Australia.
So, all right. So you're
like here now.
I'm here.
Yeah, I got a LinkedIn request from Renee last night, and I was like, "Click! This is the person that's going to be on the show tomorrow." I was like, "Cool," and I noticed that you're completely legal. We can have you here in the studio, which is not always the wisest thing. Like when I first came to America, I grew up in England, American, but grew up in England. And when I first came over here, it was with a bunch of guys in a band. We couldn't admit that we were working, or like when we were coming over to showcase for a record deal, we had to get on the plane with a bunch of guitars and drums and be like, no, this is just for our hobby. We are in no way, shape, or form conducting business over here. But you are like street legal to work, right?
Look, I've been coming to America for the last 10 years, and I've only recently got my visa, probably in the last obviously to work for any American company in the last 3 years. Previously, I've had other visas where you can base yourself here, but you cannot work for anyone in America. So I was working for a South African radio station and working for Australia. So yeah, I feel so lucky to be able to work in such a great country.
So wait a second. You got a chance to live here for 2.5 years while working for a South African. Nothing cool like that ever happens to American radio personalities. Am I right, Funkhauser? When was the last time someone was like, "Hey, would you like to go be a correspondent in a different country?" Nope. Zip, zing, nada. It never happened.
But can you broadcast it from your studio? You can't go, but you can.
Yeah. You want to sit in a room while other people do fun stuff on the other side of the world?
Look, it's pretty amazing. You have to create it yourself. The job that I had previously for the last 2 years in Los Angeles, I created. I went to the Australian company and said, "This is what I want to do. Can we make this happen? I want to do it with you. And if we do, that's great. If you don't want to do it with me, that's fine. I'm going to do it on my own."
It's a similar story on how AD became a thing here. He just went to the powers that be and said, I want to do this. So let's make this happen.
Well, I mean, what happened was I was doing some talk radio, and a job came up, and I wanted it. And I was like, "Hey, you should give me this job." And the program director at the radio station was like, "Yeah, truthfully, you are really good. And the job is available, but there's no way you're going to get hired because look at you. You look like an overgrown kid that should be hanging around outside of a 7-Eleven on a skateboard." And I was like, and for one tiny second, I understood what it was like to be judged on your exterior experience. I was just like, so this is what it's like to be black. For only a very, very teeny tiny segment of my life, I understood what it was to be X'd out of a job because of the way you look. So I got all pissy. And
as you do.
I went over everyone's head, and I wrote an email to one of the Grand Dragons of talk radio, Bill May, the guy that put us on the air. And I was like, "I want a job. I've been told I can't do talk radio because I look like this," and put a picture of myself, and not like that, and put a picture of Rush Limbaugh. And I got an email back almost immediately saying, "Okay, we'll put you on the air." So it was, it did involve breaking a couple of doors down, but I've never managed to weasel myself into a position where I got to go to a different country. That must have been awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Ever since I listened to radio when I was 12, I remember having a radio and I used to listen to Rick Dees, and I used to think, wow, he's so far away. One day I want to meet Rick Dees because he was, back in the day was huge. And
yes, Disco Duck.
I always had my eye on working in America, always. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to do this and make it happen. And I met Rick Dees, and I met, Ryan Seacrest and all the rock stations in LA. And I think if you put your mind to something and you really want it and you just beeline into it, as we call it in Australia, you can make things happen. But, you have to do it on your own. It's all about you,
Interesting. Well, we'll get into it shortly after we get into the events of today in our segment, My Witness News. In no way, shape, or form fair. Certainly not balanced. Funkhauser, A, how are you? B, what's going on in the world?
I'm good. It's raining, and we're not used to that. So it's quite an experience coming into work today.
Any form of precipitation, and the standard Californian drives off the road. What is it? Do you get the... In Australia, do you get the big sort of storms, or it is like in England? it rains an awful lot, but it's just sort of constant gray drizzle, and it never gets that fun or that dramatic. It's just everybody's used to driving in the wet. But do you have like the enormous thunderstorm type thing in Australia?
Yes, where I'm from, the Gold